segueing into Janelle's. But as I have previously discussed with you guys, throughout my life I have lived in many different small towns and big cities. And throughout my time here in Lethbridge, I've kind of determined that it's a little bit of both. One thing that is prevalent among small towns is the gossip and the bandwagon jumping that ensues when the status quo is challenged. Recently here in our small town city, there was a decision made, and through the people that I was surrounded with at the time, I got varying perspectives of this decision. And what was the conflict that was created? It was simply a business location change. And no, it wasn't London Drugs or Save On Foods, but the one and only Top Hat here in Lethbridge. For those of you who would like to lie and say that you don't know what Top Hat is, it is our local strip club here in Lethbridge, and no, I do not have takeaways for you today. My speech is not to comment on my thoughts or belief about the industry, but more or less to demonstrate the domino effect that can ensue within a community based on society's perceptions of an industry. The Top Hat was at the same location for the last 11 years down on 1st Avenue North, and it was alongside other similar bar establishments. Their lease was coming due, and so the owner, Chad Lamy, decided that he wanted to switch locations, and he has now set up shop on Mary McGrath Drive, where previous bars have been, including Coyote Joe's and Scores. Now, a friend of mine, he owns rental properties that is close to this area, and he was less than pleased to hear the decision and immediately took to Facebook. He made a post and was trying to rally other homeowners and people from the community in the area together to bring a petition to City Hall and to bring in a laundry list to try to appeal the decision to allow him to come in. Many of the comments that I read on the Facebook post included, how could the city do this? How disgusting. What a bad first impression for our city to have that place on Mary McGrath when people drive in. There was one person who knew Chad, the owner, and he posted some rebuttals on the comments, just basically asking what the difference was between this bar being there or the bars previous being there. Interestingly enough, nobody had actual credible answers to back up their initial outrage to the situation, which kind of made me laugh because of the previous bandwagon jumping mentality that I've seen in small towns, where people like to fuel the fire and they just kind of roll off of what other people say and don't really have any facts or evidence to back it up. When the business owners in the area were interviewed by CTV, they didn't express any concern in reference to their business, if it was going to affect their revenues. To them, it was just another business that was coming in. There was one business owner who did state the concern for it being so close to a residential area. And again, I'm unsure why that differs from the previous bars being in there. I don't know if they think that the girls are going to go out and start delivering better books to the people in the area, or again, why it's going to differ so much from the previous establishments that resided there. I also talked to Britt Mearns, who is on City Council, regarding the people in the area wanting to dispute and to appeal this decision. She told me that there was no differentiation as far as zoning goes from a strip club to a regular bar establishment, and that they really had no grounds to appeal this decision and that it would move forward regardless. With an interview with Chad, he had stated that he expected this backlash and that there's a lot of people in the city and just in general that will never come to his bar and wouldn't want it no matter where it was, and that he just concerns himself with the opinion of the people that go to his bar and kind of forget everybody else. And I think in the industry that he is in, he doesn't really have a choice but to do that. He's obviously not going to appeal to the greater masses and just has to focus on his business. From a logical standpoint, for people saying that it's going to affect our first impression of the city driving in on Mary McGrath, the signage is not vulgar or suggestive. And as far as residential security, the bouncers that they hire would be, in my opinion, the equivalent of the elitist media that we have learned about here in communication versus dance clubs being more populist, meaning that the bouncers that they hire at strip clubs, they don't care who you are and they don't care how many people are in that establishment. If you're not following the rules, they're kicking you out and have a zero tolerance policy. Where dance clubs and other bars like to have their establishment full and therefore allow a little bit more lax and rowdy behavior to ensue, which can cause obvious problems in and around that area. Throughout my time here in Lethbridge as well, I have heard more residential dispute stories about people that live within close proximity to downtown and bottle depots than I ever have about people who live in close proximity to a bar. At the end of the day, I don't think it's the move. I don't think the move challenges people's property values or rights. I think it challenges their perceptions and beliefs. And it isn't that big of a deal if they choose to check their ego at the door and look at the facts opposed to believing popular misinformed opinions.